What's going on, everybody? Closing out Solitude Standing, Suzanne Vega, Tom's Diner Reprise. This is just the instrumental Tom's Diner, right? Let's just do it real quick. Bam. Percussion. One of the best things she ever put out. She knew she was onto something, that's why it's on here twice. Maybe. Sounds like it would be on the Wii console menu. Yeah, this is all just like talking about like video game type of vibes. Yeah. It's a very interesting, weird little, like, almost jokey, right? Almost jokey type of spin on it. Yeah, almost like this should be like the secret song, you know? Okay. It was fine. It was, you know, it was more a surprise to me. Basically, I just don't like Luka at all. I wish it wasn't never written. Sorry. Oh, that was as unnecessarily harsh as I've ever been, huh? Yeah, and then the lines in Fancy Paltry are just strange to me. That's whatever. Song-wise, I like the song, actually. It's just, they start talking about Fancy Paltry, and I'm just like, what the heck is happening here? This is weird, right? It's like those moments in where, you know, normally I don't pay attention to the lyrics, but when I do, lots of times it's in a negative way, and that would be that way where I'm just like, what the hell are they talking about here? What am I listening to? All of a sudden, it takes me away from the music and into like the lyrics. And normally that's not where I'm trying to be. So there you go. But the rest of the album, I think is really good, right? Gypsy, I thought was fine, but everything else I think is really good. Night Vision was the other one where I'm like, I could hear this again. I can listen. This is very interesting. This is cool, but I feel like I need to listen to this again. In the Eye, again, is awesome. In the Eye, Solitude Standing, Tom's Diner, DNA, Calypso, Wooden Horse, Language was cool also. Just all of them. It is a solid album. It's a solid album. It's just Luka is so off-putting to me. That's it. That's really it. And sorry that it's so off-putting for me. It just is. You're gonna have to live with it. I'm just like, I don't want to hear this ever again. Why? It's just a weird, it's not that great musically. It's not interesting musically. There's way more interesting musically happening things in other songs than Luka. Luka is probably the most bland next to Gypsy. Gypsy is kind of, I would say, bland also. But Gypsy is not off-putting to me. Luka with the whole, you know, child abuse business, I don't want to hear that. I just don't want to hear that. So take it for what it is. Oh yeah, I mentioned previously that I didn't know who Sean Colvin was. And I recently actually just heard, yeah, Sonny Came Home. I know that song. I remember that. Right. So I didn't know that was Sean Colvin. Anyways. I mean, overall, it's a solid album. It is. It is. It's a solid album. Minus Luka. Everything else is great. It's great. Really cool. Interesting stuff. Continuing on. The sound is slightly different than the first album. But still, like, the overall, you know, her voice and lyrics are the focal point. And then there's like the backdrop, the scene setting, the painting behind the setting of the song, right? All the instrumentation, the arrangement of it, all of that, right? That I think that they did a good job. It's definitely a like a progression from the first album. I don't want to say that it's better or that the first album is better in that way. Although I think that in a lot of ways, I prefer the first album. I feel like in a lot of ways, I prefer the first album, but this album definitely is a progression to me from the first album in terms of production, really. Yeah, like a continuation progression, right? Like next step, basically. So that's cool. I think that's cool. I think that's interesting. All right, and this album is up next. I don't know that I'm not saying I'm doing this album by looking at it. I'm just looking at it. This had Institution Green, which Sanko wrote. Okay, cool. Sanko wrote a fair amount on this. Wow. That's actually pretty interesting. This is probably a pretty good record also, actually. This is probably a pretty good record, huh? Wow. Nominated for Best Contemporary Folk Recording and a 1 for Best Recording Package. Oh yeah, I vaguely remember reading that. That's weird. Whatever that means, right? They might be Giants, Philip Glass, Sean Colvin. Yeah, because that Institution Green is super interesting. I still can hear that song. I really like that one. That was a really good one. Yeah, this is probably a good record too, huh? Yeah, and we're getting heavy hitters in here. Yeah, that album has the heavy hitters. Cool. Yeah, overall, really good record. Just don't like Luka. Don't want to hear it ever again. There it is. All right, Suzanne Vega's second album. Awesome. Thank you, guys. I'll catch you in the next video. Later.